Now live from Austin, Texas, here's Alex Jones.
There have always been elites, there have always been empires, there has always been different groups of peoples usurping and overrunning their neighbors. No different with, of course, Mesoamerican populations and native populations of southern, central, and North America. And then, of course, the Northern Europeans, who had made some forays in the last 1,000 years to the North American continent, came in mass in the last 400 years, launched biological weapons programs, you name it, against the native populations. Oh, but the establishment doesn't do that today. The Endgame eugenics program is running against everyone. Of course, in my film Endgame, we show the official U.S. government documents how 42% of Native American women in the 70s under a George Bush-run program by Nixon were sterilized when going in for medical care. That's just some of what we cover here. And, you know, the folks out of Latin America and Mexico say that the Southwest belongs to them because Spain had it. And that's really a fraudulent claim. If anybody's got a claim, it is certainly the tribes that were here in Central and Northern North America. And that would be, you know, the dozens and dozens of tribes that were here known as Indians because of the people that came here believing they'd found India. Really, they're Native Americans or folks who came across the Ice Age Bering Strait out of Asia. And in case you didn't hear, it hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but here's AP. Lakota Indians withdrawal treaties signed with U.S. 150 years ago. Now, do they have a right to do that? Well, they certainly do. The Declaration of Independence says that we as Americans in this republic have a right to pull out if the government becomes destructive or abusive. Have you read the Declaration of Independence and compared it to what this criminal government's doing? But let me be clear, this isn't the U.S. government. Foreign corporate interest did exactly what we did to the Native Americans. They've come in here, bought off our politicians, bought off our leaders, played us off against each other on race and religion and creed, and they're dominating us and bringing us into the North American Union, setting up new systems where we have no liberties or freedoms. Now, they've gone to the United Nations. It's being recognized. Of course, I think that's really a problem for them. They don't need to go to the global government to get them to say it's okay. Putin is mad about Kosovo being handed over, seceding. So he's saying he's going to back this, the Russian president. And a lot is happening. So joining us to discuss this, in case you didn't know, this is the most of 4 states and some pieces of others, is one of the leaders of this. It's Duane Martin Sr., and I would give you his native name, but I would butcher that. Leader of the Oglala Lakota Strong Heart Society. 77% of the Pine Ridge want to cut up their driver's license. They're saying they're pulling out. And I believe, going here from Wikipedia, I don't know if it's accurate, we'll ask him here on air, that he was involved in the 1973 Wounded Knee federal attack. And again, that's nothing but, it's not even the federal government, folks, that's the banker attack. And so joining us is Duane Martin Sr. Thank you for coming on, Mr. Martin.
Hey, thank you for having us.
In a nutshell, you got the floor. Tell us what you've done and the process and how, because if you've got liberty and freedom, if you guys succeed in this, I'll cut up my national ID card and move up there with you. Go ahead.
Well, we would really anticipate all of you coming up there to do the same thing we did. But first of all, the reason why we've done that, you know, when we withdrew from the treaties, you know, unilaterally, is because the federal government have never lived up to 3/4 of its provisions. Only 1/4 of the provisions on the treaty, you know, which is a contract made with certain tribes.
They're in violation of the contract.
Exactly. So that's, you know, one of the reasons why we did this. I mean, when you have the highest epidemic rate of alcohol abuse on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, the adult male death mortality rate from age 44 on down, and then, you know, when you have the highest incarceration rate of crimes against humanity through this colonial practice, I mean, what's wrong with that picture? Well, the simple, you know, solution is that they should be living up to what they agreed upon with these treaties. Therefore, instead of illustrating an IRA institution, which is the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, things have gone rapidly chaotic on every reservation within the Midwest. And Pine Ridge is a death trap to that, because right now, as you and I speak, we have an illegal outlaw government who are running rapidly on the Pine Ridge Indian reservation, spending millions upon millions of dollars of taxpayers' money that's supposed to be designated for the well-being of what the treaty has been expelled to by protecting, the means of our Lakota people in particular. Well, that has never, ever been a plausible entity, on part of the federal government.
Now, go through the process here and what the federal occupation government is publicly responding to, and how you think they'll respond in the future. How do you think this is going to play out?
Well, needless to say, over the years when we've done this, especially when we went into Wounded Knee in 1973, we stood up arms against them because it was the same tactic. You were constantly violating the rights of treaties, the provisions. And so, when only a minimal was upheld, we had to launch this understanding. And so, as of now, as we speak, the whole process was, we're sick and tired of them not investigating their oath of office. When you have the illegal form of government running rapidly on our reservation, now get this, we had a current tribal council member that's just been arrested for trying to bring in 21 pounds of marijuana. Now, what's wrong with that picture? But yet you still keep him on the tribal council payroll. He's still qualified to sit there and negotiate terms in good faith. Now, if you and I had did something like that, bam, we're gone. We're gone.
Absolutely. Well, not to mention, I'm sure you know about the public eugenics program, the extermination program, going right back to the blankets and mowing people down with Gatling guns. The point is, the people running the federal government are not the friends of Native Americans, and I think it's fabulous if large sections of the country secede instead of going to the New World Order as we're going under international control. Going back to the natives. What's the process here? What are the feds going to do as you try to kick them out?
Well, first of all, you know what is going to happen. They're going to try to assassinate, the original guys that went down to D.C. on our trip down there to withdraw unilaterally. Now, that's going to be an insult to them. But because of what we are initiating are above the law. They also apply to UN law. But we are getting sick and tired of them not living up to their agreements. And I can say this in particular for one of our unique, senators, Senator John Thune. He was supposed to be initiating an investigation into all the graft and corruption.
Look, they're never going to fix it. The government's completely shot. It's not even a federal government. It's an international government. It's under international control. But expanding on that then, what is your process then? What happened when you went to D.C.?
Well, the first thing is we took our portfolio and presented it to Daniel Turner, one of the assistant staff members of the States Department. And he took the information down, but I did advise him to read it and also got his signature back on that. Then we took the remaining, bodies of our portfolio and we took them to the Bolivian embassy. And the greatest response we got from them was that on a Richter scale from 1 to 100, they were 75% sure that they would recognize us as a free, independent nation. Now, that was a blessing. So on our way to depart, when we denounced our unilateral withdrawal, and then we cut up our driver's license, now the Richter scale went even higher. They were 82%. And, Bolivia has the first indigenous, president,
yes.
Evo Morales.
Yes.
Now, that's a blessing in disguise. And you can look for the state of South Dakota, 5 tri-state areas in the future being recognized as a free and independent nation that will be recognized in the international community.
Well, again, this isn't even the federal government anymore. And that's what the average American doesn't understand. This is a usurpation happening right now. And I want to hear more about this, sir. Stay with us for one more segment. Then I promise we're going to get to everybody's calls. Michael, Kyle, Mark, Blazer, Rachel, and many, many others. And I've got other news on the economy. PrisonPlanet.com and Infowars.com are the websites. We'll be right back.